People think Christmas brings out the best in families. Warm hugs, soft music, a sense of togetherness. But for me, Christmas brought out something else entirely. Cruelty, humiliation, and a truth so shocking it shattered everything I thought I knew about my own father. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe to Scarlight Stories, because what happened that Christmas morning still feels like a movie I accidentally walked into and barely escaped from. My name is Madison Hale, and until last year, I still believed my father loved me in his own gruff, distant way. I was wrong. Painfully wrong. The day started beautifully. Snowflakes drifted down like powdered sugar, coating our little town in a soft white blanket. I'd flown home from college, an expensive trip I paid for myself, to surprise Dad with gifts I'd spent months saving for. He always said, "Christmas isn't about money, Mads, it's about family." Or at least, that's what he used to say, before Mom died, before grief hardened him into a man I barely recognized. And before he remarried Tina, the woman who seemed determined to erase every trace of my mother. I stepped into the living room, early, the smell of pine and cinnamon filling the air. The tree glowed softly, presents arranged neatly beneath it. I smiled. For a moment, I let myself believe today would be good. Dad walked in wearing his worn flannel, robbing sleep from his eyes. "Morning," I said brightly. He grunted. A chill ran through me, but I ignored it. "It's Christmas, Dad," I said, forcing cheer. "I got you something special." His eyes narrowed at the pile of wrapped gifts I'd placed under the tree. Too many, probably. I'd been making up for lost years. "What's all that?" he asked. "Presents," I said with a laugh. "It's Christmas, Dad." He stepped closer, and something in his expression darkened. Before I could react, he grabbed the largest gift and shoved past me. "Dad, what are you—" He walked straight to the front door, yanked it open, and flung the gift into the snow. I froze. The cold air rushed into the house, slapping my face with icy shock. "Dad, what are you doing?" He didn't answer. He grabbed another present, one I'd wrapped carefully in gold ribbon, and hurled it outside. I rushed to stop him, grabbing his arm. "Stop!" He jerked away like my touch burned him. "You think you can buy your way back in here?" My breath caught. "Back in? Dad, I live here."
"No," he barked. "You left. You abandoned me." My heart sank. "I went to college," I whispered. "You told me to." "That was before she got here." She. Tina. As if summoned by the devil himself, she stepped into the living room wearing a silky red robe that matched the lipstick smeared on her wineglass. At 9 a.m. "Oh, sweetheart," she cooed to my father, rubbing his back. "Don't let her upset you." My father softened instantly, leaning into her touch like a loyal dog. My stomach twisted. "Dad," I said quietly, "why are you throwing my gifts outside?" Tina answered instead. "Because," she said sweetly, "we don't want your pity or your charity." "Charity? It's Christmas," I cried. Dad's face twisted. "You think buying me things makes you a daughter again?" "A daughter again?" "Dad, I never stopped being your daughter." He didn't hear me, or didn't care. He reached under the tree again. "No!" I shouted, lunging forward. He shoved me back, harder than necessary. I stumbled, hit the couch. Pain flashed through my spine. "Don't touch me," he growled. Tina smirked behind him. He stormed outside, barefoot in the snow, tossing the rest of my gifts like garbage. And then came the final blow. A small box, wrapped in soft white paper. The one labeled, "To Dad, From Mads. For Mom. A memorial gift I'd spent weeks creating. A handcrafted ornament with their wedding photo inside, encased in glass. He didn't even read the tag. He just ripped it from the tree and threw it onto the icy driveway. The glass shattered. The photo inside cracked. And something inside me cracked with it. I stepped onto the porch, snow soaking my socks. "Dad," my voice trembled, "why are you doing this?" He turned, breath fogging in the air. "You don't get to come in here and act like family, not after everything you've done." "Everything I've done?" I whispered. "I haven't done anything." "You left," he snapped again. "You chose school over me." I stared at him. The man who raised me. The man who once made pancakes shaped like hearts. The man who held my hand when my mother died. Now he was looking at me like I was a stranger intruding on his property. My throat tightened.
"Dad," I said softly, "Mom wanted me to go to school. She wanted me to live a full life. She didn't want me to stay here forever." He flinched because we both knew that was true. But Tina stepped forward, resting her head on his shoulder like a puppeteer steadying her puppet. "She's manipulating you," Tina whispered loudly. "She's trying to make you feel guilty." Dad's jaw clenched. "This house is not your home anymore, Madison," he said. The words hit harder than the winter wind. I felt my hands go numb. "You're throwing me out?" I whispered. "No," Tina said, smiling. "We're asking you to leave." Dad nodded, as if her words were gospel. I looked at the broken ornament in the driveway, the gifts scattered in the snow, my father's cold, distant face, and something inside me snapped. Not grief, not anger, clarity. I straightened. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll go." Dad's shoulders relaxed as if he'd won some kind of battle. "But before I leave," I said, "there's something you should know." Tina rolled her eyes. "What now? More emotional blackmail?" I stepped closer. "This house," I said softly, "doesn't belong to you." Dad scoffed. "I pay the mortgage. I've lived here 25 years. I swallowed. "Dad, you haven't paid the mortgage in almost a year." His face went blank. Tina stiffened. "How would you know that?" she snapped. I looked them both dead in the eyes. "Because," I said slowly, "the deed isn't in Dad's name anymore." Dad blinked. "What are you talking about?" "The house," I whispered, "is in my name." Silence. Pure, stunned silence. The kind that freezes the world. Dad's mouth opened, then closed. Tina's face drained of color. "You're lying," she hissed. "Why would the house be in your name?" "Because my mother was smart. Because she saw what was coming. Because she knew who Tina really was. And because she trusted me more than anyone." But I didn't say all that. Not yet. Instead, I said the words that made Tina stumble backward in shock. "Mom changed the deed before she died." Dad's eyes widened. Tina gasped, and I felt the smallest spark of power return to my chest. The little girl who came home to give her father gifts was gone. In her place stood the woman who held the title to the house they were standing in, and neither of them saw it coming. The shock on my father's face should have satisfied me. It didn't, because beneath the disbelief was something else. Fear. Tina was the first to recover. She stormed toward me, her robe swishing dramatically. "You're lying," she spat. "Your mother would never do that. Never." I didn't flinch. "I have the papers." Dad's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Madison, why would your mother change the deed?" he whispered,
voice shaking. Why? Because she saw this future before any of us did. Because grief doesn't turn good men cruel, but manipulative women do. Because she knew what Tina was after the moment she stepped into our lives. But I didn't say all that. Instead, I said, maybe you should ask Tina. His head jerked toward her. She stiffened. Perfect. I picked up my coat from the entryway chair. If you want to talk like adults, I said softly, I'll be at the top of the street. I stepped outside, snow crunching beneath my boots, the cold biting my cheeks. Behind me, I heard the door slam. And then, "Are you happy now?" Dad roared at Tina. Her shrill voice followed. "Don't listen to her. She's trying to come between us." I walked further up the driveway, heart pounding, breath fogging. A part of me wanted to run back inside. A part of me wanted to scream, to cry, to beg for the father I once knew. But another part, the part my mother raised, the part she trusted, that part whispered, "Stand your ground." Minutes passed, maybe 10, maybe less. Time stretched thin in the freezing air. Then the door burst open. Dad stormed out onto the porch, barefoot again, shirt half-buttoned, face red. "Madison!" he shouted. I turned. He stood at the top of the stairs, chest heaving, eyes wild. "Come back inside," he said. "Now." "No," I said simply. "Not unless we talk. Calmly." His fists clenched. "I am calm." He wasn't.
He looked like a kettle seconds away from exploding. "Dad," I said carefully, "please stop shouting." He marched down the steps toward me, snow hissing under his feet. "You think you can just walk in and take my house?" he barked. "It's not your house," I reminded him. "It hasn't been for 11 months. He froze. For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. 11 months. The same amount of time Tina had been living there. His eyes glazed, and I saw it, the realization washing over him like ice water. "You're serious," he whispered. "Aren't you?" I nodded. He sank onto the porch step, face pale. "I didn't know," he murmured. "She never told me." "No, Mom didn't want you burdened while grieving." His head dropped into his hands. "And now I'm losing everything." My heart twisted. This was the man I grew up with, the man who danced with me in the kitchen, the man who kissed my scraped knees. Not the man Tina twisted him into. I walked closer and knelt in front of him. "You're not losing everything," I said quietly. "You're waking up." Footsteps shuffled behind us. Tina stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes blazing. "Oh, please, don't fall for this act. She's lying to manipulate you." Dad turned slowly, something cold settling into his face. "Is she?" he asked. Tina's eyes darted. "Of course. Why would your wife, your dead wife, give the house to her?" My stomach dropped. Her dead wife. Dad stiffened. That was the wrong thing to say. "Get out," he said, voice flat. Tina blinked. "What?" "Get out." She let out a shrill laugh. "You can't throw me out. It's my house, too." "No," Dad said, rising to his feet. "It's not." I stood too. It never was. Tina's face twisted, but I saw it, fear flickering behind her eyes. She lunged toward Dad, grabbing his sleeve. "You're gonna believe her? She hates me. She's jealous." Dad pulled away. "I'm done," he said. "I'm so done." The way he said it made my chest ache. Not angry, broken. Tina scoffed, tossing her hair.
You need me, Richard. Without me, you're nothing. You're a jobless, grieving mess. Dad's eyes went dead still. Jobless? I turned. What does she mean by that? I asked slowly. He didn't answer. Tina smirked. Oh, she said sweetly. He didn't tell you? Dad swallowed hard. Dad? I said, stepping closer. What is she talking about? Silence. Cold, hollow silence. And then, I lost my job, he finally whispered. 8 months ago. 8. My stomach nodded. And the mortgage? I asked softly. He shook his head. I couldn't pay. I was embarrassed. I thought, if I told you, you'd think I failed. Tina cut in sharply. He did fail. Dad flinched. That's why, she continued viciously, I told him to move on from you. You were nothing but a burden. You left, and he needed someone loyal. My heart cracked. Not from pain, from fury. I walked right up to her. You manipulated him, to isolate him, to control him. Tina rolled her eyes. Oh, spare me the drama. You convinced him I abandoned him, I said, voice trembling, so you could get your hands on the house. Her smile slipped, just for a second, and that was enough. Dad stared at her like he was seeing a stranger. You used me, he said softly. No, she protested, voice rising. I saved you. I was the only one who stayed. You stayed for the house, he said coldly. And now the house belongs to my daughter. Tina's face twisted in panic. No, I am not leaving this house. You deserve nothing, Dad shouted. And for the first time in a long time, I saw him stand up for himself. Tina backed away, eyes darting wildly. You don't scare me, she snapped. You should, Dad said quietly, because you don't live here anymore. Her jaw dropped. You can't. I can, he said, voice firm. And I will. I stepped forward, lifting my chin. Pack your things. You have 1 hour. You entitled brat, she shrieked, but I didn't flinch. Try me, I whispered. She glared at us both, shaking with rage. This isn't over, she hissed. Then she stormed inside. Dad sagged onto the porch railing, shoulders trembling. I'm sorry, he whispered, for everything. I sat beside him. We're not done talking, I said gently. But right now, we fix this. He nodded slowly, and for the first time in years, he looked like my father again. If you've ever watched a sandcastle collapse, you know how fast a structure can fall apart the moment the foundation gives way. That's exactly what happened to my father that morning. Tina had been the foundation he leaned on. The wrong one, the crumbling one. And now that she was exposed, everything he'd buried inside himself was rushing to the surface. He sat slumped on the porch railing, staring at the snow. A man who had once seemed too proud to ever break now looked hollowed out. I sat beside him, letting a few moments pass, letting him breathe, letting myself breathe. Inside, I could hear Tina furiously slamming drawers, muttering curses loud enough for the entire neighborhood to hear. Dad exhaled shakily. I should have known. Your mom warned me. I blinked. What do you mean? He rubbed his face, not meeting my eyes. 2 days before she died, he said softly, your mom, she told me,
Richard, don't let desperation make you foolish. I didn't understand what she meant, but now I do. Wind whipped across the porch, snow swirling around us. For the first time in years, Dad looked small. Human. Why didn't you tell me you lost your job? I asked gently. He closed his eyes. I didn't want you to worry. I would have helped. He shook his head hard. I'm your parent. I'm supposed to take care of you. My heart ached. But before I could respond, the front door burst open. Tina stomped onto the porch, holding 2 suitcases, not packed neatly, but stuffed chaotically, zippers straining and clothes spilling out like guts. She glared at me first, then at Dad. You two are making a huge mistake, she snapped. Dad didn't answer. She scoffed loudly, flipping her hair. So what? You're choosing her over me after everything I've done for you? Dad finally lifted his head. You haven't done anything for me, he said. Quiet. Cold. Tina's face twisted. I've been your rock, she screamed. You've been my leash, he said. I swallowed hard.
She pointed a finger at me like a dagger. This is your fault, she spat. You walk in here with your fancy degree, your fancy job, your fancy gifts. I cut her off. My fancy job? Tina, I make minimum wage at a library. She blinked. Clearly, she'd built some twisted version of me in her head. A rich girl, spoiled, out to take her place. When in reality, I was barely surviving. She pointed at my father again. And you, she yelled, are going to regret this. Dad stood slowly, and for the first time during all this chaos, he truly looked at her. Not with fear, not with confusion, with clarity. Tina, he said quietly, I stopped loving you months ago. Her lips trembled. The rage drained from her expression, replaced by something more dangerous. Desperation. You can't kick me out in the snow! Where am I supposed to go? Dad shrugged. You made choices, Tina. Now you can live with them. She turned to me, eyes wild. You can't do this! You don't own me! No, but I do own the house. Her jaw dropped. Dad had told her earlier, but hearing it from me was different. You greedy brat! You think this makes you powerful? You think you're better than me? I didn't react, because that was the thing right there. Tina couldn't hurt me the way she hurt Dad. She didn't have that kind of power over me. Your hour is almost up, I reminded her. She threw her suitcase down and stormed back inside. Dad exhaled shakily. I'm sorry she talked to you like that. I'm sorry you let her, I replied quietly. He flinched, but he nodded. You're right, he whispered. I let myself be blinded. I softened. Dad, I didn't come home to fight. I know. You came home to give me gifts, and I threw them in the snow like a fool. I smiled sadly. Christmas isn't ruined, isn't it? His voice cracked. I reached out and took his hand for the first time in months. It's only ruined if we let it be. His fingers closed around mine, hesitant at first, then tighter. I don't deserve you, he whispered. I squeezed his hand. Maybe not before, but you can now. He looked at me, eyes glassy. I want to fix this, Mads. I want to fix everything.
We start by telling the truth, I said. No more secrets. He nodded. I promise. My throat tightened. I promise too. Silence fell. Not uncomfortable, just real. But it didn't last, because the front door banged open again. Tina stormed back onto the porch with her purse and coat. But she wasn't crying anymore. She wasn't begging. Or screaming. She was smiling. A slow, dangerous smile. Fine, she said calmly. You want me gone? I'll go. Dad stiffened. But before I do, she added, stepping closer, you should know something. I narrowed my eyes. What? She tilted her head. Your mother wasn't as innocent as you think. Dad froze. My heart lurched. What are you talking about? I demanded. Tina laughed. A cold, sharp laugh that felt like it sliced through the winter air. I'm talking about the reason she changed the deed. Dad swallowed. What reason? Tina leaned in, eyes gleaming, because she had a secret. A chill ran through me. What secret? I whispered. Tina's smile widened. Ask your father. We both stared at him. Dad's face, drained of color, eyes wide, breathing shallow. Tina let out a victorious hum. Oh, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's been hiding it for years. What secret? I repeated, voice cracking. Dad didn't answer. He couldn't. His lips parted. His eyes glistened. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a lie Tina made up. This was real. Richard, she cooed, tell your daughter what your wife did before she died. Dad's hands started shaking. Don't listen to her, he whispered.
Tina stepped back, crossing her arms. You're right, she said smugly. Better she hears it from you. Then she turned on her heel and walked down the driveway, dragging her suitcases behind her, leaving behind a silence so heavy I could hardly breathe. I turned to my father. Dad, I whispered, what is she talking about? He swallowed. Hard. His voice came out barely audible. I never wanted you to know. A cold wave of dread washed over me. Know what? I whispered. Dad lifted his head, eyes full of pain, and then he said the words that shattered everything. Your mother wasn't supposed to leave the house to you. What? She wasn't planning to, he whispered. My pulse pounded painfully. Dad's eyes filled with tears. She changed the deed because of something she found out, something about the family. My voice shook. What did she find out? He closed his eyes. It changes everything, Mads. My father's eyes were full of something I hadn't seen in years. Not anger, not disappointment, fear. Real bone-deep fear. The kind people carry only when they've been hiding something so heavy, their entire body folds under the weight. What did she find out, Dad? I whispered again. He didn't answer right away. He didn't seem able to. He lowered himself slowly onto the porch steps, as if his legs could no longer hold him up. Snowflakes clung to his hair and flannel, melting instantly against the heat of panic rolling off him. I sat beside him, heart pounding. Talk to me, I urged softly. Please. His hands trembled. Mads, your mother wasn't just protecting you from Tina. She was protecting you from me. From you? I repeated. Dad, what are you talking about? He rubbed his face, as if trying to wipe away the truth. I made a mistake so big. She said she couldn't trust me with the house anymore, or with you. Cold washed down my spine. Dad, you're scaring me. I'm scaring myself, he whispered. The wind howled across the yard, rattling the icicles hanging from the porch roof. Tina's figure had disappeared down the street, leaving nothing but the echo of her poisonous words behind. Dad swallowed hard. It started 3 years ago, before your mom got sick. I held my breath. She found paperwork proving I'd taken money from our joint account. A lot of money. I blinked. What? Why would you take money without telling her? He closed his eyes. That's the worst part. I didn't even use it for something important. I was drinking, gambling a little. His voice cracked. I'd never done anything like that before, Mads. Ever. I was stressed, angry, lost, and I made the worst decision of my life. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. My father taking money? Gambling? He was the responsible one, the steady one. He must have seen the disbelief on my face. I know, he whispered. It doesn't sound like me, but grief changes people. And this was before we even knew her diagnosis. I think deep down I sensed something was wrong with her, and I tried to numb myself. My chest tightened painfully. Mom confronted you? I asked. He nodded. It was the biggest fight we ever had. She told me she couldn't trust me anymore, that she needed to protect the house, protect you in case I spiraled. A tear slipped down his cheek. And then when she got sick, she said she knew she wouldn't live long enough to help you through adulthood. She said the house needed to belong to someone she loved unconditionally. My throat closed up. Me, I whispered. He nodded. You. Always you. Snow drifted quietly around us, the world holding its breath. But why didn't she tell me? I asked, tears stinging my eyes. Because she didn't want you thinking badly of me. She hoped I'd get better. She hoped paying bills, caring for the house, caring for you, would keep me grounded. He looked down, and for a while, it did. Silence. A heavy, aching silence. Then he spoke again. But after she died, I fell apart. I stopped being the man she trusted. I let guilt eat me alive, and I let Tina walk right in and fill the empty spaces. I inhaled sharply. This wasn't the story of a villain. It was the story of a man who'd lost everything and grabbed onto the first person who told him he didn't have to feel the pain. Dad, I said quietly, why didn't you tell me any of this sooner? He laughed, a broken, humorless sound. Because how do you look your daughter in the eye and tell her you weren't strong enough, that you failed the woman you loved, that you failed her? I placed my hand on his. You didn't fail me. He shook his head violently. I did. Just this morning I did. Throwing your gifts, screaming at you, believing Tina over you. I treated you like... Stop, I said firmly. Yes, you messed up. Badly. But you're here now. You're telling me the truth, and that matters. His breathing hitched. I don't know if you can forgive me. I squeezed his hand tighter. Forgiveness isn't instant. It's earned.
He nodded slowly. I want to earn it. Snowflakes landed on our joined hands. I felt something shift inside me. Not a full repair, not yet, but the beginning of one. Just as I was about to speak, a sharp bang echoed from the street. Dad and I both jerked our heads up. At first, I thought it was nothing, maybe a car door slamming or a branch snapping. But then I saw them. 3 figures, standing beside Tina's 2 suitcases in the snow, all wearing thick coats, all tall, all men. They weren't neighbors. They weren't friends. And they weren't here for Christmas greetings. Dad stood immediately. What the hell? The tallest man stepped forward, holding one of Tina's suitcases like it weighed nothing. "Richard Hale?" the man asked, voice deep and unnervingly calm. Dad stiffened. "Yes?" The man pointed to the house. "We need to talk." My heartbeat skittered. "Who are you?" I demanded. The man's eyes slid to me, then back to Dad, and he spoke a sentence that drained every bit of warmth from the winter morning. "We're here about Tina's investments." "Investments?" Dad paled. I don't know anything about her investments." "Correct," the man said, stepping closer. "She used your name." My stomach plummeted. "What?" The man held up a folder. In it, documents, forms, contracts, all with my father's forged signature. "She owes us money," the man continued. "A lot of it." Dad's face turned ashen. "And if she doesn't pay," the man said coldly, "we collect from the person whose name is on the papers." "No," I breathed. "No, no, no." Dad stepped back, shaking. "I didn't sign anything." "We know," the man said, flipping the folder closed. "But that's not our problem." Another man stepped forward. "Debt doesn't disappear just because the thief runs."
Dad's voice cracked. "Where is she now?" The leader's lips curled into a cold smile. "We were hoping you could tell us." Dad and I shared a wide-eyed glance. She had set him up. Not accidentally, not loosely, intentionally. The men stepped closer. Snow swirled around their boots like the world itself was backing away from them. "Mr. Hale," the leader said, "we need payment. Today." Dad's breathing turned choppy. I don't have money." The man smirked. "You have a house." I stepped in front of my father. "No, you don't touch this house." The man raised a brow. "And who are you?" I lifted my chin. "The legal owner." The three men exchanged glances, and the leader stepped even closer. "Well then," he murmured, "it looks like we need to talk to you." My pulse thundered. Dad grabbed my hand, trembling. "This is my fault," he whispered. "No, this is Tina's fault." But the leader shook his head. "No," he corrected softly. "This is everyone's problem now." The men closed in. The snow fell harder, and the world felt like it was about to crack open beneath our feet. The three men stood in our snow-covered driveway like shadows carved from winter itself. Dad gripped my hand so tightly it hurt, but I didn't pull away. I didn't dare. Because the leader, the tall one with the calm, cold voice, stepped forward and said, "We'll need access to the house." "No," I said immediately. "This house is legally mine. You don't step inside without a warrant." He smirked. "We don't use warrants." My heart hammered. Dad stepped in front of me, voice shaking. "Whatever Tina owes you, whatever she stole, please don't involve my daughter." The man's eyes dropped to my father's trembling hands. "Mr. Hale," he said quietly, "your signature is on $500,000 in debt." Dad recoiled like he'd been struck. "What? She told me she was investing. She told me she had money coming in. She lied. She ran. And now," another added, stepping closer, "someone has to pay." Dad sagged. Snow kept falling, settling in his hair, melting down his cheeks like frozen tears. "We don't have that money," I said. "We don't have any money." The leader looked up at the house. "Then we take assets." The house. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just wood and bricks. It was my mother's memory, my childhood, the last piece of her she left behind. And Tina was trying to use it as her escape route. I stepped forward,
blocking the men. "Give me 1 hour." The leader frowned. "Why?" "Because I know where she is." Dad jerked his head toward me. "You do?" I didn't, but I had an idea. Tina wasn't the type to wander aimlessly into the cold. She was too soft for discomfort, too proud to stay with anyone she'd humiliated. There was only one place she'd run, her sister's house, 5 blocks away. Warm, large, paid for with the same kind of men she'd just scammed. I turned to the men. "You want your money? Fine. But you want your liar, your thief? She's not here. Give me 1 hour to bring her back." The men exchanged looks. Dad grabbed my arm. "Mads, no, you're not going near her. She's dangerous. She's not dangerous," I said. "She's desperate, and she thinks she's smarter than everyone." The leader finally nodded. "1 hour," he said. "After that, we start collecting whatever's in that house." My heart pounded. "Deal." He turned away. Dad pulled me close. "Mads, don't go alone." "I won't," I said. He stared at me, confused. "You won't? Then who's going with you?" I took a breath. The truth. He blinked. But when I strode down the snowy street, I wasn't just a daughter anymore. I was the owner of that house, the protector of my mother's legacy, the girl who had been thrown out by her own father, now fighting to save him. Tina's sister lived 5 blocks away. The huge Victorian house was lit up with warm fairy lights, laughter echoing from inside. Perfect place to hide.
I rang the bell. Footsteps approached. Then the door cracked open. Tina stood there, cheeks flushed, wearing one of her sister's expensive coats. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Oh, look," she sneered. "Little Miss Homeowner." I pushed the door wider with my palm. "We need to talk." She scoffed. "I don't talk to children." "You will," I said, stepping inside, "if you want to stay out of prison." Her smile faltered. There it was, the crack. "What do you mean?" she whispered. I stepped closer. "I know about the debt." Her face drained of color. "I know you forged my father's signature." She stumbled back. "And I know 3 men are standing outside my house right now, waiting to collect." Now she looked terrified. Who did they send?" "Does it matter?" I said coldly. "They want you." Tina's hands trembled. They threatened me?" "No," I corrected. "They threatened us because of you." Her sister, overhearing the tension, peered down the hallway. "Tina, what's going on?" "Get back in the kitchen," Tina snapped. I smiled slightly. "She's trying to run from a debt she can't pay." Her sister's face fell. "Tina, you didn't—" But Tina lunged toward me. "You came to blame me? You came to ruin everything?" "No," I said calmly. "I came to give you a choice." She blinked. "A choice?" "Option 1, I said, lifting a finger. "You come with me right now and deal with the men you owe." She swallowed. "And option 2? I leaned in. "I call the police. Fraud, forgery, identity theft. You'll never see daylight again." Her mouth opened, closed. She looked like a cornered fox, and that's what she was. Finally, she whispered, "I'll come." We walked back together in tense silence.
Tina was shaking. Good. Actions have consequences. When we reached the driveway, the men stood waiting. The leader raised a brow at Tina. "Found her?" Tina let out a choked sound. I can explain." "No need," he said flatly. "We already know." The smallest man grabbed her suitcase. The leader stepped closer. "You owe us, Ms. Clark." Tina trembled. I don't have the money." "Correct," the man said. "But the person whose name is on the documents," he pointed at my father, "is legally responsible." Dad inhaled sharply. "No, I said quickly, "He signed nothing, and we can prove the signature is forged." The leader shrugged. "That may be true, but legal battles take years. We don't wait years." I stepped between them. "You don't need years. You need the debt settled." The leader smiled. "And what are you offering?" I took a breath, then said the words that stunned all of them. "The house." Dad gasped. "Mads! No!" Tina's eyes widened. The men looked satisfied. But before anyone could speak, I clarified, "Under one condition." The leader tilted his head. "You walk away forever," I said. "No harassment, no retaliation, no coming back. My father and I are done paying for her sins." The leader studied me carefully. Dad whispered desperately, "Madison, that house is your mother's." "It's not the house she gave me," I said. "It's the strength to protect us. That is what she left behind." Silence. Snow. Breathing. Finally, the leader extended his gloved hand. "Deal." Dad grabbed my wrist. "Madison, please. You don't have to." "Yes," I whispered. "I do. Because my mother didn't leave the house to me because she wanted me to have something. She left it because she trusted me to know what to do with it. And I did."
I shook the man's hand. The deal was sealed. Tina screamed, "No! You can't do this! It was supposed to be 9!" The leader grabbed her arm. "No," he corrected. "It never was." They dragged her toward a black SUV. She kicked, she fought, she screamed my name, but I didn't look away. My dad watched with trembling breath. When the SUV drove off and disappeared down the snowy road, he stumbled toward me. "Madison," his voice was barely a whisper, "you gave up the house for me." I looked at him, really looked at him. The man who'd failed, the man who'd been manipulated, the man who'd hurt me, and the man who was desperately trying to put himself back together. I hugged him, not out of forgiveness, out of love. "There'll be other houses," I murmured, "but you, I only get one dad." He sobbed into my shoulder. And for the first time since Mom died, we held on to each other instead of falling apart. The end. If you enjoyed this story and want more dramatic, emotional, twist-filled tales, go ahead and subscribe to Scarlight Stories, where every story keeps you hooked until the very last line.